With the start of a new day, Luke and his crewmates gathered in the large mess hall. The breakfast table was filled with various galactic delicacies. Luke had grown accustomed to these different flavors during his time in the galaxy. In the peaceful morning atmosphere, everyone had a sweet smile on their faces. The conversations were lively as the crew sipped their coffee, their voices filled with energy. Zara sat next to Luke, gently placing her coffee cup on the table. As Luke observed the relaxed demeanor of his friends around him, he felt more at home on this ship than ever before. During his time on the ship, he had formed strong bonds with them. After being frozen for over a century, re-engaging with life in this distant corner of the galaxy had given his life a new meaning. Just then, a sudden siren blaring from deep within the ship abruptly disrupted the peaceful atmosphere in the mess hall. The sirens began to wail, and everyone immediately understood what was happening. The relaxed smile on Zara's face was replaced by a look of seriousness. "The enemy ship. They're coming again," she said, quickly standing up. Luke also quickly stood up. The relaxation he had felt was instantly replaced by a surge of adrenaline. Everyone around him sprang into action, moving to their defense positions. Zara turned to Luke and said, "We need to get to the defense lines. This time, we're ready." Luke took a deep breath, his eyes filled with determination. "Okay, Zara, let's finish this." The team quickly moved toward the control room. The sound of footsteps echoing in the corridors and the blaring sirens heightened the seriousness of the situation on the ship. When Luke reached the control room, he saw Aaron and the other crew members in their positions. On the screens, a red warning light was flashing, indicating the enemy ship's approach. Aaron glanced quickly at Luke and Zara, his face filled with concern. "The enemy is coming back stronger this time," he said, his voice heavy with seriousness. "Our radar systems have detected significant upgrades to the enemy ship since their last attack, and their weapon capabilities have been enhanced. Additionally, they're carrying more combat units and advanced assault systems this time. The situation is critical. We need to prepare the fireball immediately. If we don't stop them now, the next attack could be far more devastating." Zara nodded resolutely at Luke. "This time we won't give them a chance to come back," she said, her voice echoing through the control room. She then began issuing quick and clear commands. "Everyone to your positions. Increase energy levels to maximum. Activate the fireball's cooling systems and get ready for the next shot. Strengthen the defense shields and focus on the front. We're going to hit the enemy ship's defenses with full force." The determination in Zara's voice inspired confidence in the crew. As everyone moved under her leadership, the indicator lights on the panels quickly shifted. The crew, in perfect harmony, carried out Zara's orders. Luke felt the power of Zara's leadership and tightened his focus on the task at hand. "Luke," Zara called out, her eyes meeting his for a moment. "Lock the fireball on target and get ready to fire. This attack will be their end." Luke nodded, taking a deep breath, and immediately focused on the control panel. Dr. Loran also took his place beside him. "We're ready to fire the first shot," Dr. Loran said. Luke saw the enemy ship slowly locking onto the target on the screen. Zara's clear commands had brought the entire team to a state of focused readiness. There was no turning back now. This attack would finish them off completely. Luke locked the fireball onto the enemy ship. "Target locked. Ready to fire," he said. As the ship shook from the enemy assault, Luke pulled the trigger. With a massive burst of energy, the fireball launched its plasma ball. The plasma ball sped toward the enemy ship, piercing through its armor and causing a colossal explosion. The enemy ship had sustained heavy damage, but it wasn't completely destroyed. Without a moment's hesitation, Luke began preparing the second shot. "Ready for the second shot," Dr. Loran said. Luke took a deep breath and returned to the control panel. As his hands moved over the panel, he took a brief moment to look at everyone in the room. Zara's face was full of determination. Irene's eyes showed a mix of concern and hope, and Dr. Loran's hands were clasped together with excitement as the final success of the fireball was about to be revealed. Every crew member understood the importance of this moment. The tension in their eyes carried the weight of the entire battle. Feeling the resolve within him, Luke thought, this is their last chance. All these people, this ship, and perhaps even Earth's future depended on this move. He gripped the controls a little tighter and took a deep breath, locking his eyes back on the screen. "Get ready," he said, his voice echoing in the control room. Everyone was anxiously awaiting the burst of energy. Luke grasped the trigger and, with a powerful voice, shouted, "Fire!" The second plasma ball launched with a tremendous energy burst. Luke watched intently as the plasma ball sped toward the enemy ship on the screen. This time, everything was in place. The plasma ball struck the enemy ship's energy core. For a brief moment, there was silence, as if time had stopped. Then a massive explosion filled the screens. The ship began to disintegrate from the inside out, its armor shattered, and it was engulfed in a gigantic fireball, completely obliterated. For a few seconds, Luke held his breath, unable to take his eyes off the screen. Seeing the enemy ship completely destroyed, the tension inside him was suddenly released. His heart pounded as he leaned back slightly and took a deep breath. He looked around and saw the relief on the crew's faces. The tense expressions had now turned to joy. They had succeeded. Inside him there was a mixture of the sweet taste of victory and the peace that came with finally ending the battle. Luke felt proud of what they had accomplished as part of this team. He looked around at his companions once more and smiled. "It's over now," he thought. "They won't be coming back." The crew took a deep breath, savoring the sweet taste of victory. The enemy ship was no longer in a position to launch another attack. A moment of silence filled the control room, followed by an outburst of joy. Aaron, his face beaming with excitement, turned to the team and said, "We did it. We're safe now," his voice full of happiness. Just then, Zara stepped forward to address the crew. The serious expression on her face had given way to a smile filled with satisfaction. "This victory is thanks to all of you. You did an incredible job," she said, pride evident in her voice. "We fought together, and we won together. We've completely neutralized the enemy, and now our ship, our crew, and perhaps even our planet are safe." Zara then turned to Luke, speaking directly to him. "Luke, we couldn't have achieved this success without you. Your use of the fireball and the final blow to the enemy were all thanks to you. You've proven once again that you're not just a warrior, but an indispensable part of this team." Aaron nodded in agreement with Zara's words. "Every single one of us here is part of this victory. Now, let's celebrate together because we've earned it." The crew, further motivated by these words, burst into enthusiastic applause and cheers that echoed through the control room. Everyone was basking in the victory, hugging, smiling, and sharing their joy with triumphant shouts echoing through the ship's corridors. As Zara and Aaron watched the crew in this moment, they shared a look of contentment brought by the victory. The faces of everyone were filled with pride and satisfaction because this victory was a triumph of unity, courage, and determination. After the victory, a grand celebration was held on the ship. The mess hall was decorated with tables laden with various galactic delicacies. Every corner offered a different selection of food and drink. The faces of the crew glowed with the excitement of victory. It had been a long time since the ship had been filled with such joy and happiness. Everyone, relieved to have left the difficult battle behind, was hugging, laughing, and celebrating their victory. In the center of the mess hall, a large holographic screen displayed images from explorations made in different parts of the galaxy and a tribute to the victory. As the crew members watched these images, galactic music played, further enlivening the atmosphere. Some danced while others gathered to talk about this unforgettable moment. Zara addressed the entire crew. Friends, tonight we celebrate our victory. But let's not forget that it was our unity and friendship that made this possible. Each of you is an indispensable part of this ship and this team. The crew responded with applause, and the mess hall was filled with cheers of joy. Drinks were raised, songs were sung, and the night continued with dancing. That night, the ship became a place of celebration. Every corner was filled with laughter, conversations, and the joy of victory. Zara, holding 2 drinks, approached Luke. With a warm smile on her face, she handed him a drink. "You played a big part in this victory, Luke. You did great," she said proudly. As Luke took the drink, he looked around. These people felt like family to him now. However, in the back of his mind, he felt a longing for Earth. Noticing Luke's moment of reflection, Zara leaned in slightly. "It's time to go back, isn't it?" she asked softly. Luke nodded gently, a small smile on his face. "Yes, it's time to return home. But I'll never forget the memories I've made here, and I'll never forget all of you." As the celebration wound down, the crew began preparing for Luke's departure back to Earth. When the time came to say goodbye, everyone gathered in the ship's hangar. The atmosphere was heavy with emotion. Everyone knew that Luke's journey in this distant corner of the galaxy had come to an end. Aaron walked up to Luke and embraced him tightly. "You will always be a part of us," Aaron said, his voice filled with sincerity and pride. "This ship will always have a place for you. If you ever need anything, know that you have a friend in us." Luke was deeply moved by Aaron's heartfelt words and responded with a warm smile. "I'll never forget that, Aaron. The friendships I've made here will always be a part of my life." Zara approached Luke slowly, wrapping him in a strong embrace. "We'll never forget you, Luke. We've gained a friend here," she said, her eyes slightly misty. "Our doors are always open to you. Your path may always lead you back here, to your second home." Luke felt a surge of emotion as he returned Zara's embrace. "You all and everything I've experienced here will always be on my mind. The bonds we've formed will never be forgotten." Just then, Dr. Loran approached with a small box in hand, his usual calm and wise expression on his face. "Luke, we've accomplished great things in such a short time," he said, handing the box to Luke. "This is a piece of the Fireball Project, a small token to remember us by." When Luke opened the box, he found a small, glowing crystal core inside. This core represented the energy source of the fireball, a special crystal that held deep significance. Luke immediately understood the meaning of this gift. It wasn't just a symbol of their friendship, but also a memento of the victory they had achieved together. "Thank you, Dr. Loran. I'll carry this with me always," Luke said, carefully holding the crystal in his hand. "This will be a part of my memories from here." Dr. Loran smiled and gently patted Luke on the shoulder. "May your journey be safe, Luke. It's been an honor working with you as a scientist. I hope this crystal lights your way in your future adventures." Luke nodded in agreement with Dr. Loran's heartfelt words. "It's been a great honor working with you too, Dr. Loran. This crystal will be a symbol of our friendship, and it will come with me wherever I go." After the goodbyes, Luke took one last look at the ship and the crew, taking a deep breath. "This place has become like a second home to me. I'm grateful to all of you," he said, his voice filled with love and gratitude. Then, Luke boarded his ship and began his journey back to Earth. Inside, he felt a whirlwind of emotions, the exhilaration of victory, the sadness of farewell, and the excitement of returning home. But at the same time, he was leaving behind the friendships and adventures he had experienced in the depths of the galaxy. As his ship approached Earth, Luke felt the maturity that the experiences in the galaxy had brought him. Looking at the small crystal in his hand, he found a deep sense of peace. He knew that no matter where he was, he would always belong somewhere, always be part of a team. Earth's blue and green landscape came into view as Luke's ship descended, filling him with both excitement and a deep, bittersweet sorrow. The ship shook slightly as it entered the atmosphere, a familiar sensation that signaled the closing of one chapter and the beginning of a new one. He was returning to the planet he had left behind a century ago, but Earth was no longer the place he had known. As the ship touched down and landed on the Earth's surface, Luke took a deep breath. When the doors opened, the light and fresh air that greeted him felt like a return to life. A large group of people had gathered on the landing pad to welcome Luke. Scientists, government officials, and media representatives surrounded him. Everyone was excited to witness this historic moment, but Luke's emotions were more complex than the excitement in the air. One of the officials stepped forward, extending a hand to Luke. "Welcome back to Earth, Luke. We've been eager to hear your story. To have been frozen for a century and then live through such experiences in the galaxy. This is one of the greatest events in human history," the official said, his voice filled with admiration. As Luke shook hands, he looked around. The faces around him were filled with curiosity, admiration, and excitement. But deep down, Luke knew that Earth was no longer the place he had once loved and recognized. The changes that had occurred over the past 100 years had wiped away everything he had left behind. The life he had once known, the loved ones, the world he had been a part of. Nothing was the same anymore. This realization struck a deep sadness in his heart. His sense of belonging was no longer tied to this world alone, but also to the bonds he had forged in the far reaches of the galaxy. The reporters aimed their cameras and microphones at him. People around the world were eagerly waiting to learn about his experiences. The headlines were already taking shape. "Slept for a century, fought battles across the galaxy. Frozen hero returns to Earth, the story of his journey with the Galactic crew. The time-defying astronaut, Luke's incredible journey." For a moment, Luke paused in the face of all the attention. He wanted to share his experiences in the galaxy and the friendships he had made there with the world. "I am deeply grateful to the Galactic Research Union for finding me and bringing me back to life," he said, his voice both resolute and emotional. "The adventures I've had with them have been a life lesson for me. I slept for a century, but waking up was crowned with the friendships and victories we achieved." But the sadness within Luke made him accept the reality. He could no longer return to the life he once knew. There was no one left on this planet waiting for him. The life he had left behind, the old world, had been lost to the passage of time. However, this sadness also reminded him that he had the opportunity to start anew. He had the chance to rebuild his life, leaving the past behind. Earth has changed a lot in 100 years, and so have I, Luke thought. But this is an opportunity to start over. I will build the future with the experiences I've had both here and in the galaxy. As the reporters documented Luke's story, unaware of his internal struggles, his story quickly spread around the world. Luke was no longer just an astronaut. He was a hero who had transcended time. Even though there was nothing left waiting for him on Earth, he had a life ahead of him that he could rebuild. The friendships he had formed in the galaxy would give him the strength to create a new beginning here.